Welcome, Alec.
Well, comrades, that was some film. And not surprisingly, this financial appeal is heavily influenced by my recent visit to South Africa. So I also want to give a short report of the tremendous intervention of our sister organisation, the DSM, the Democratic Socialist Party, in the massive strike wave that has swept across the mining region of Rustenburg over the past few months. Now, comrades, of course, we are all hugely disappointed that Comrade Isopa, a new DSM member and a striking mine workers leader, has been unable to get a visa for his trip to the UK, because that comrade is one of a number of young, militant and determined strike leaders who have joined our party during the course of this bitter and deadly struggle. And comrades, it is most definitely a bitter and deadly struggle. The whole world was shocked when the 34 Longman mine workers were slaughtered by the South African police on August the 16th. It shocked South Africa, it shocked our comrades, but regrettably the comrades weren't surprised. Our party in South Africa had predicted the likelihood of major clashes in the Rustenburg region, and over the past couple of years, we've made a conscious turn to the area and succeeded in building a branch of DSM in one of the mine workers' squatter camps. And comrades, that's the reason why we were able to immediately intervene when the longmen strike began. And that's why as well we played a decisive role in assisting, in organising and in leading the series of unofficial strikes that have shut down the majority of pits in Rustenburg and beyond, affecting nearly 150,000 striking mine workers. Our party in South Africa has helped lead that movement, comrades. Now, there's no question that the Marikana massacre has decisively transformed the situation in South Africa. It's exposed the ANC and its government as a corrupt, ruthless party of big business, prepared to crush in blood any attempt of the working class to fight for a decent future. It's exposed COSATU, the South African trade union equivalent of the British TUC. It's exposed them as a cowardly, toothless tiger that remained totally silent after the massacre and has recently called DSM and the 100,000 striking mine workers in Rustenburg counter-revolutionaries. And it's also exposed, comrades, COSATU's biggest and richest affiliate, the National Union of Mine Workers, as a strike-breaking union. It's a union, the NUM in South Africa, which not only didn't lift a finger to support the longmen strikers, but actually denounced the workers' demands for a wage increase, encouraged scabbing, and called for the police to break the strike. Comrades, the South African NUM, a once proud militant trade union, has been reduced to what the mine workers call a boss's union. Actually, a journalist said it was a Bars boy union, and Bars means master in Afrikaans, and what they mean is when the miners are determined to go to strike action, the NUM turns round to the masters and says, yes, boss. Yes, boss, all the time, but as far as the workers are concerned, it's no. And that, comrades, is the reason why tens of thousands of mine workers have deserted the NUM and why our party, DSM, has become pivotal in organising and setting up democratically elected strike coordinating committees across the Rustenburg region. Mine workers have no confidence in the NUM. They've got no confidence in COSATU, and they've got no confidence in their political bosses in the ANC. And comrades, they also have no confidence in the ANC President Zuma's official inquiry into the Marikana massacre that's taking place at this moment in time. Everyone already knows what happened in Marikana. Everyone knows that Zuma is looking for a scapegoat. And everyone knows that a massacre of that scale could only have happened with authorization from the highest levels of government, from the highest levels of the employers, and the highest levels of the police. Comrades, the longmen mine workers explained to us what happened. 3,000 armed police fenced in the striking mine workers with razor wire, leaving just a 5-metre opening. Police then attacked the strikers from the rear, opening fire from armoured cars, using snipers and helicopters, forcing the mine workers towards the 5-metre gap where they were mowed down on that film as they tried to escape. Comrades, those mine workers who raised their hands in the air to surrender were shot. Those who turned around and ran for shelter in the trees behind the rocks were shot in the back. And those who lay on the ground were finished off. Comrades, this was premeditated murder, a deliberate attempt to try and drown the strike in blood. Comrades, unfortunately for the police and their collaborators, it didn't work because the strike continued. The mine workers won a 22% pay increase, and that victory sparked off the unofficial strikes across the region. Now, comrades, these strikes are not just about wages, but also about Maracana, also about the horrendous social and economic deprivation faced by millions, and about the fact that after 18 years of ANC governments, conditions in the squatter camps are worse now than they were under apartheid. Comrades, an official report came out last week, and it says that if economic trends of the past 10 years continue, then it will take until 2061, 50 years, for the average black family to start earning the same wage as the average white family. Comrades, when you have a blatant corruption at the top of society and a disgusting floating of wealth, alongside abject poverty and the oppression of the masses, it won't be allowed to last 50 years. Comrades, the half a dozen young mine workers who joined our party on the Longmen squatter camp and are desperate to help us build the Maracana branch of DSM, they won't wait 50 years. Neither will the DSM, and neither will the rest of the South African working class. Comrades, the membership of DSM this year had doubled by August and has probably trebled by now. Our student comrades are launching Socialist students from Pretoria University in January and already have identified potential members in all the major universities across South Africa. In the squalid townships of Soweto, we already have members who are fearless community activists, many of them young women who confront daily the threats of violence, the threats of rape, and the threats of murder. Comrades, DSM has earned a growing authority during this strike amongst the industrial working class, amongst the youth, and in the squatter camps, and we will be initiating the beginnings of a new mass workers' party to unite this mighty South African working class around the democratic socialist programme. So comrades, the financial appeal at socialism is always extremely important for our party in England and Wales. But this year, your contributions can also make a huge difference for our comrades in South Africa. And I just want to remind comrades that a significant amount of tonight's collection will be going to our international organisation, the CWI, which in turn will directly assist the work of our South African section. Comrades, being an eyewitness for 3 weeks and participating in the events and work of our small section in South Africa was definitely inspiring. It was also sobering and exhausting. Our comrades, our leading comrades, have to travel from Johannesburg to Rustenburg by car, which means at least a 5-hour trip almost every day. Unfortunately, while petrol prices are similar to the UK, wages are obviously a lot smaller. The dirt tracks we have to navigate in the squatter camps wreck our already wrecked cars. Our strike-leading comrades are working 16 and 17 hours a day, 7 days a week. They are constantly running out of credit for their mobiles because every strike committee or potential strikers want to speak to them for advice on tactics. And that alone is costing us £40 a day just for a couple of mobile phones. We produce a twice-yearly paper, but urgently need at least a quarterly paper, because our paper is far more vital for us in South Africa, because unlike in Britain and Europe, There's no electricity, let alone laptops, in the squatter camps of South Africa. Comrades, since I returned, the situation has become a lot more urgent. Because of our success and profile during this strike, our opponents have stepped up their public attacks on us in a much more vicious and much more dangerous manner. Comrades, incredibly, last week, the NUM leadership on breakfast television claimed that DSM was responsible for the murder of their shop stewards. Comrades, this deplorable allegation couldn't be further from the truth, because I have seen with my own eyes how our comrades have actually prevented an escalation of violence and kept the strike disciplined and united. At one of the strike committee meetings I attended, and these strike committee meetings, by the way, are illegal, they're held in parks in Rustenburg town, and we've got to keep an eye out for the security, because any more than 10 meeting is an illegal meeting. We had the meeting, and at that meeting, which was a crucial meeting because management was threatening to sack thousands and thousands of mine workers on the Monday, and the strike committee was concerned they might be a return to work. At that meeting, there was a sharp discussion in the strike committee of whether or not to kill scabs. Now, comrades, one of these strike leaders had a big round of applause when he told the 70-odd delegates that were present that he wanted to see 50 scabs dead on Monday morning. It was the intervention of our comrades and supporters that defeated this proposal and won the majority over to the tactic of uniting the low-paid contract workers by having the same demands of the full-time workers and of spreading the action of the mines outside Rustenburg. So our comrades literally stopped further murders taking place. Now, comrades, the following day, believe it or not, Vavi, the General Secretary of COSATU, called a press conference and claimed that DSM had instigated the stoning of his car after he was chased away from a meeting by angry striking mine workers. Now, they did chase him away. We didn't instigate it, but they did chase him away because they see COSATU and they see the NUM as collaborators with the employees, and they chased him away, and they chased his car away, and they stoned him. They stoned the car. But that was an immediate reaction from those mine workers. And these reports are being used by a member of the South African Communist Party to justify the placing of information on the internet with names, photos, and telephone numbers of our comrades, which after these allegations, comrades, amount in practice to an open invitation for assassination of DSM members. So, comrades, it really is a life and death struggle for our comrades, and that's not being over dramatic. That's the reality of the situation facing our comrades in South Africa. And I want to give just one example before I finish. Comrades, one of the many calls Comrade Sabai received, and Comrade Sabai was there speaking at the mass meeting, one of the many calls he received on his mobile when I was out there was from a mine worker squatter camp in Rustenburg, where they just discovered a striking mine worker who'd been shot dead by the police, and his body had been hidden away in the bushes. And they wanted our comrades to get up there immediately and to bring the media along. When Sabai reached the squatter camp, a crowd of around 300 had gathered around the body. Armed police had surrounded the crowd and were demanding that they hand the body over to them. As the media started turning up, so the police chief was becoming more and more agitated and told the crowd they had 10 minutes to disperse before they opened fire. Now, comrades, around 50 left, but over 200 remained, including Sabai and our comrades, who refused to hand the body over to these killers. Sabai could hear the police chief on his walkie-talkie giving orders to his men to shoot. But with more of the media turning up, including TV cameras, the officer on the ground tried to explain to his chief the difficulty of the situation, but he was ordered again to shoot. Now, comrades, fortunately, they didn't shoot because Sabai turned to the police, turned to the media, and shouted, "We are not handing this body over. If you want another Maracana, shoot us now." And of course, they didn't want politically another Maracana at that particular stage. But comrades, it shows the brutal nature of South African capitalism and the heroic goal of our comrades and the striking mine workers and the working class in general. So comrades, we have to provide the financial resources to assist our comrades, so it's not an abstract appeal. These are our own. These are our comrades in the front line fighting the brutal South African capitalist system. So comrades, we really do have a duty to assist them.